Are you thinking of moving to Punta Gorda? Today's video is a crash course in the popular boating community of Bird Store Isles. Yo, I'm Adrienne, and I'm here to help you get your Florida life. If you're looking for waterfront property in Punta Gorda, there are lots of subdivisions you can look at, but two of the biggest are Punta Gorda Isles and Bird Store Isles. They also compete with each other greatly. Now, last week I covered Punta Gorda Isles, so today we're going to do Bird Store Isles. Bird Store Isles is a little less complicated when it comes to boating, so I'm going to start off by comparing the two neighborhoods so you can kind of get a feel for what these neighborhoods are about. We're going to start by, of course, looking at a map. Okay, so let's start by getting our bearings. If you watched the video last week on Punta Gorda Isles, you know this is the Peace River. This is the Mayaca River. It all flows into Charlotte Harbor and out into the Gulf. This is Punta Gorda Isles, and this is Bird Store Isles. We're going to get closer to, I'm going to give you a close-up of Bird Store Isles in a second, but I wanted you to see how close they were, or they are. And the other thing I want you to know is this is downtown Punta Gorda, and that affects some people's decision on which neighborhood they like better, because Bird Store Isles is slightly farther from downtown. It's probably 8-minute drive to downtown. There is a bike path that you can take down 41, so you could ride your bike all the way downtown. You would go through one light, and that's the only time you really would have to get off the bike path to get downtown. However, it is a bike path that goes along US 41, so it's not a beautiful stroll or anything like that. It's probably about 4 miles. So that does affect some people's decision. Some people like that Bird Store Isles is a little bit further out. It gives it more of a feeling of seclusion, a little bit quieter feel. I often describe Bird Store Isles as having a feeling of a gated community without the actual gate. So let's take a closer look. Okay, so this is Bird Store Isles more close up. I've moved myself over. You'll see why when we get more into the boating, but a couple more points on the PGI, BSI, Bird Store Isles, BSI comparisons, because I hear them all the time or get asked about them all the time. So Bird Store Isles is a little bit further from downtown, but right here you have Publix, you have Home Depot. Off this way, just a short ways, you have I-75, Walmart, and Aldi's. It's very convenient in other ways. I sometimes joke with my customers, yes, you have the downtown area closer to PGI, but here you have the Publix with you don't even have to get on 41 to go to. What do you do more? Grocery shop or go out to eat? And it's a tough call. So there is another grocery store very close to Punta Gorda Isles as well, just not quite as close, just not quite as convenient as Bird Store Isles has it. So as you can see, Bird Store Isles is built around a golf course. I think that's also why I think of it kind of as this community or the gated community feel, but again, there is no gate. It was started in the early 80s. I actually grew up in this neighborhood. When my family moved there in 1981, there were 5 houses. Now there's around 1,700 lots here, and now it's about 92% full. So come a long way. We've come a long way. I can remember riding my bike, learning to ride my bike down these streets, and there were no cars you could ride in the middle of the street because there's no place to go. There are no houses. There's nothing there. So it's changed quite a bit. Often people want a decision whether they would move to Punta Gorda Isles or Bird Store Isles. Now I'm giving you some comparison, but I'll tell you that sometimes people never decide. They're just like wherever the house we like comes up, wherever it comes up, because they like both areas. And then some people really gravitate, if they like Bird Store Isles, they also tend to like this section over here of Punta Gorda Isles, which is the bird section. All the streets are named after birds because that was also started in the 80s. Like the bird section, if you watch my PGI video, the streets were made in the 80s. They kind of had an idea of how to build these canals. So they really paid more attention to the canals and the views than the streets. That's why they are a windy mess here. It looks like, but actually it was very strategic to give some big like basin views you see here, and just to give some variety in that way. Now, the only way out to open water for a boat is through this space right here. It used to be a lock. When I was a kid, there was a lock there. The lock was taken out 20 years ago. Some old timers like me still call it the lock or say through the lock, which there's no lock there anymore. It's about 17 feet wide. That's something you should keep in mind. They are working on expanding it because right now one boat at a time can go through. So they would like to make it wide enough for 2 boats for safety reasons. I don't hear about a ton of backups, like a long line to get through, but it does happen. You do sometimes have to wait because it's 1 boat at a time. You can also see that it does get shallow in points. At points through Alligator Creek. You can kind of see on these. That's why these satellite maps are nice. I like to look at the street maps when we talk about houses, or just to give you a general overview, because that's what most people look at when they're looking for houses. But the boating here is very important. So this looks like a way out. You can sometimes kayak through here. It gets very, very shallow, and there's some pilings here to stop you from doing it, because I can't imagine a boat. You would have to have. I have kayaked through here, and sometimes you are trying to stay, from grounding the kayak. So it's a little tough there. But you can do it on I don't want to say you can do it on a kayak. I've done it on a kayak, but also right in here, I haven't talked much about width in these videos. Most of our canals are about 100 feet wide or wider, but it's very narrow here. So what they do is they put their boats on lifts on the seawall. So you'll have a dock in front or behind, and then instead of the boat going off the seawall or off the dock, it goes off the seawall. It does limit the boat size you can have because it's so narrow there. You do get a great view of the perimeter canal. This is all mangrove, so you have a very private view. You will get some boat traffic through there, which is nice, but you're not going to get a very big boat on those lots. Sometimes you do see a little bit lower price. So if you love the rim canal and you don't want a big boat, that can be a great spot for you. Also, the canals are maintained by the city, just like in PGI. The seawalls are maintained by the city. As I said last week, I tell people to think of that like the roads. If your road has a problem with it, you don't fix it yourself. You call the city. Canal maintenance comes out and takes a look at it for you. Also, all of Burnt Store Isles is sailboat water. There are no bridges anywhere. And the one more thing you have to keep in mind is to get out from Alligator Creek, you're looking at about 15-20 minutes. It's minimum wake. And the canals are no wake. So when you are here, you're 15-20 minutes, but because it's so windy, sometimes even these places that look really close, you wrap all the way around and you're looking at, another 20 minutes tacked on. So it's very hard to be you can't really be less than 15-20 minutes to open water. And you do get 45-50 minutes in Burnt Store Isles. So it's just something to consider. If you want to be very close to open water, Burnt Store Isles is probably not the spot for you. But if you love the feel of the surrounded by a country club and the newer houses, then you may really like Burnt Store Isles. It's a great neighborhood. Thank you for watching. If you want more information about boating in Punta Gorda, I do have a relocation guide specifically for boaters. If you are interested in hearing more about Punta Gorda Isles, I have a video from last week, and I will be doing more videos like this. Next week, I'll be talking about Sunseeker, which is a hot topic around here. If you're unfamiliar, or if you are, please check it out. Please subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next week.